is episode 483 in my new studio. Welcome, everybody. So glad you're here. It's so exciting. Okay, we set it up ourselves. I might need a professional to come and help me. So if anybody knows any professionals out there to come help me with my studio, it would be amazing. And I'm really excited today because, of course, my first guest is my husband. Welcome.
I'm the first guest in the new studio.
You're the first guest in the new studio.
It's certainly not the first guest on episode 480. There's 483 episodes.
No, you're not the first
well,
guest.
The studio's beautiful. It's too bad they can't see the whole thing. But
I know. It's one day maybe I'll do a tour on Instagram or something and just show everybody that once it's right now we have other stuff going on in the house, so this room is filled with stuff. But not to digress. I'm really excited you're here. If you're here for the first time, welcome. And if you're back, I'm so glad you're back. And if you like what you hear, please subscribe and go to my website, busylivingsober.com, and sign up to get all new episodes right into your inbox and Friday's newsletter that comes out at 10 o'clock on Friday mornings, Eastern Standard Time. And if you go, it'll prompt you, sign up, and everything will come right into your inbox. But with further ado, I'm so excited to have my husband here because
I'm so excited to be here.
And the exciting part about it is that his 26th year anniversary is on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, isn't it?
No.
It's Thursday.
There you go.
It's Thursday. And we're traveling, so we're not even going to be anywhere. We're going to be going to see my daughter in Vermont. But it's kind of fun that you're going to have 26 years. It's really exciting. It's really, really exciting. And of course, here I am recording this in my new studio and I'm making noises. Everybody, I'm so sorry for the distractions. But here we go. So what
are your questions?
Here we go. Question number 1. I actually made notes, you guys. I normally never do this.
I thought you were just pretending.
I'm so excited, but I do. So you have 26 years. So 26 years ago, what was it like? What happened to make you decide to stop drinking?
Well, what happened was I had been drinking alcoholically for 24 years, basically. Started when I was 12. I was 20.
You weren't a daily drinker at 12, were you?
No, not until I was about 17.
Okay, so there you go. Okay.
But I started hard and fast, and so I was 36 when I got sober, and what seemed to be happening was the consequences were starting to pile on. It was getting harder and harder to get away from them, and I finally had a consequence that had to be dealt with.
What was that?
Well, I had to make a long story short, I had a DUI, and
driving while intoxicated.
Yes, and I looked in my county to see what they're going to make me do, right? Because I knew I was going to have to go see a judge, and I knew that there was programs and this and that. I didn't know what the whole thing was, but so I thought, okay, I'm going to be a Boy Scout, and I'm going to get as much done as I can possibly do before I go see the judge. And I have to be honest with you, the thought of not drinking anymore hadn't occurred to me. It had never occurred to me. I never tried to stop. I never thought about stopping. I never thought about not stopping. It's just not something I thought about. I just kept thinking I'm just not doing it right, and I need to figure this out and figure out how to do it right. So after that DUI, I felt like, well, I just need to cool it for a few days here, and and let the heat die down a little bit. So what really happened to me was God just grabbed me by the hand, and he kind of led me along, and he got me to a place where I had no choice, right? He just got me to this great place where I had no choice. So I find out what I need to do. One of the things I need to do is go to this IOP thing. So I go to the IOP thing. And
that is an acronym for?
Inpatient or intensive outpatient program. And it wasn't that intensive because it met for 2 hours once a week.
Well, compared to today's IOPs, right?
Right. And this was like, anyway. So I met the guy that ran the program, and he said, oh, it just so happens that the person who's going to be your therapist is here, and you can go in and say hi to her. And so I go into this office, and it was Joanne, this little old lady, Joanne, sitting behind this big desk. And she doesn't ask me to sit down or anything, but she says, are you serious about getting sober? I don't know what to say. So I said, yes. And this is God working for me, right? So she hands me a meeting list because it was so long ago that she didn't tell me what app to look at. She didn't tell me, what to look at on my cell phone, because literally the cell phone made phone calls and that was it, and we didn't have anything else. We had printed out lists. So I got this printed out meeting list, and she said, if you're serious, you will have gone to a meeting before you see me next, which is day after tomorrow. So this is on a Tuesday that I saw her. So I get back to my house, and I live in the village of Marshallton, Pennsylvania.
Wait, I want to go back though. So was it a fluke that you had a DUI, or were you drinking like that all the time? Like, what made?
Oh, I told you I'd been drinking alcoholically for a long time. So I lived.
What does that? But what? So to the
my,
layman, I want to ask for the layman person. What's
my problem was I moved to a village, and I had no choice I had to drive to get anywhere. It wasn't like where I always lived before, where I could like walk to a train, walk to a subway, walk to a cab, walk to a bus, whatever. And so I went out pretty much every night. I worked full time. So on the weekdays, I was actually calmer on the weekends because I was home than I was on the weekdays. But the weekdays, I went out every night, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I went out, and I went out with customers, so I was entertaining and doing work for my business. And luckily for me, not luckily for me, but I had customers that drank like I did. They were alcoholics. And so we went out every night. And for me, I was called a blackout drinker. So that means like I pretty much drank until I was blacked out every night. And I had, for the most part, no idea what I did or how I got to where I was and how I got home and everything else. And it was fine for a long time because I lived someplace where I could take the train, kind of like where you lived, from Philadelphia back to the town that I lived in. And then it was only 2 or 3 blocks from the train station to my house. So it was no problem. I didn't need a car. I didn't have a car. The car that I had had been parked for like 9 months in the garage of the building I lived in. But then we moved to this village in June. Is that right? End of June. So end of June, and I get my DUI beginning of October because that's how long it lasted for me. And it was just bound. It was going to happen. There was no question about it. It was bound to happen, and it happened. So I get this, meeting list from this woman, and I live in this village in the middle of nowhere. And I have this really long driveway. It's like 0.2 of a mile long. And on the right side of my driveway is this bar that I went to all the time because I could walk there from my house. And on the left side of my driveway was this church that I'd never been into in my life. And I get home and I look at this meeting list. And so this is Tuesday night. Wouldn't you know, one night a week in my village, in that church, on the other side of my driveway, there's an AA meeting. So if you can't tell me it wasn't God working in my life, for sure. So Wednesday night, I go to this AA meeting in this church in my village at the end of my driveway. And these people, they were all like the Maytag repairman. They were just like sitting around waiting for somebody like me to show up. They hadn't had somebody show up at their first meeting in years, probably. They were so excited. They were like, yes, we have one. This is so exciting. And they were so happy to see me. And which was a little nerve-wracking, but it was kind of cool because honestly, because of the way my drinking was, I didn't go to too many places after 7 o'clock at night when this meeting started to have people. They were not happy to see me when I showed up, believe me. They were happy when I left. And so I went, and they were nice, and they said, they kind of told me, you're going to do this, and you're going to do this, and you're going to do this. And I'm like, I don't even know what they're talking about. I have no idea. But at the end of the meeting, they said, keep coming back. And I was like, God, they're like really nice. And one of them said, what are you doing Friday? And I'm like, I don't know. And they're like, well, we're going to pick you up at 6:30, and we're going to take you to this meeting at 7 o'clock on Friday. But in the meantime, you work in Philadelphia, you should find, meetings to go there. And so I did. So that's how it happened. And the crazy thing for me is, and I still think this is the most remarkable thing, that it is. So they talk that you have to have like a spiritual awakening in our program, and like, what does that mean? And when you're new, you think about it and think about it. Well, I figured out what it means. Like, the whole spiritual experience was that I went literally from being drunk every night to not having a drink ever again. It's been almost 26 years. And with no intention of not doing that. I had no intention of stopping drinking. And yet here I am. So I went to that meeting. I've never had a drink since I went to that meeting. And it's the most wildest thing. When I think about it, I'm like, that's crazy. Like, how does that happen? A complete and total shift in my life. Well, it was a spiritual experience. It was God doing for me what I couldn't do for myself. It was crazy. Hope that answers your question.
Well, I love that you say that it was a God moment. And what happened was, you were a heavy, heavy drinker. This is what I hear. So if you're out there listening, this is what I hear. I wonder if you're going to agree with me or not. But I hear that you were a really big boozer, especially when you were at work. And when you came after work, you would go and you'd have drinks. And normally you could walk everywhere. But then you moved to this neighborhood. You can no longer walk. So you have to get behind the wheel. You have now, by the way, this is in 1998. 1998. Uber, right. No Uber. No Uber. Cabs? No cabs. So you moved to a place that's pretty rural, I can tell you, because I've been in Marshallton. I've been there. It's very rural. So there's no options of actually ever taking a cab or an Uber. So you have no option but to get in your car after you've been drinking and drive.
Correct.
And did you ever think, prior to getting into your car, like, maybe I shouldn't drink and drive? Or what were your thoughts on that? Because this is like a lot of this stuff.
I can tell you that this last time that I got in my car and drove, and I don't know what some of the other times were like, but I don't remember getting in my car. And I don't remember leaving. I don't even remember where I left from. I was in a blackout, so I don't know what I was thinking.
So I get a lot of people probably think that, like, they're in a blackout and they get into a car. It's like today, you think about, we've heard so many stories recently. Well, just two a really tragic story that happened in New Jersey, where two young men were killed by a guy that was inebriated and swerved and killed these two men. Now he's in prison. And then another one was like Justin Timberlake got arrested this summer for drinking and driving, which I thought was a little weird. I mean, there's so many options today on how you can get home rather than drinking and driving. You can call an Uber. And if you're Justin Timberlake, you could probably call like everything, including even a spaceship, to come get him. You could probably call Elon Musk and say, come send me a ship. But, drinking and driving back in 1998, you were in a blackout and you were like, I have no other options but to get in the car and drive.
Yeah, it wasn't even, I don't think it was a thought. And I have to be honest with you, like, I hear you loud and clear about the Uber and everything else, but my thought is, I haven't drank in a long time, but if you're an alcoholic, you're going to be like, I'll just do what I want anyway. I don't think that people think long and hard about it.
They just do it.
No, it's just they do it because now it is the time of Uber and everything else, and there's still plenty of people that get picked up for DUI. Believe me.
It's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy to me.
But they're insane. They're crazy. I was insane. I was out of my mind.
So you keep mentioning a spiritual awakening. So the people that are listening, what is a spiritual awakening?
Well,
in layman terms.
To me, in layman terms, a spiritual experience is that outside of myself, my life changes dramatically. So to me, the spiritual experience for me was that I went from being drunk every night to not drinking like that. It just like the flick of a switch. And that was outside of me. It wasn't a decision. Like, I didn't decide, you know what? I'm never going to drink again. I did not decide that. What happened was, I don't know, 6 months, 5 months, 4 months of going to this program, I realized, like, oh my gosh, I have not had a problem from drinking in however long it's been. I haven't been drunk in however long it's been. And I put two and two together. At that point, I was like, it's because I haven't had anything to drink. That's why. I haven't been in trouble from drinking because I haven't been drinking. But it wasn't a conscious thought on my part. It was definitely a spiritual experience. And it's the most profound change in my life. There's no question about it. I've had lots of changes in my life, but none so profound from being a blackout drunk to 24 hours later being a sober guy for, more than 2 decades now. Over a quarter of a century. God, it's crazy. It just blows me away.
It's amazing. It is amazing. I want to ask you, so when you walked into that IOP and you were talking about going into a meeting, and so you went to a meeting, what was your relationship with God prior to walking into that meeting?
I had no relationship with God. I believed in God.
Now, how did you believe in God?
I was certain there was a God. Absolutely certain, because there was too many things. I had thought about it. I had thought about it. I thought, is there God or isn't there a God? And I just came to the conclusion there's too many things that have happened on earth that are inexplicable other than the fact that there has to be a God. And so I used my logic, my scientific mind to come up with the conclusion that there absolutely has to be a God. There's no doubt in my mind about it. No question about it.
Were you ever...
But I had no relationship with this God because I like, well, there's definitely a God that's running everything. And I kind of, because of my ego, I think, well, if I were God, these people, they're like ants. Like I wouldn't pay never mind to any of these people. But for me, once again, it's like, should I stop drinking or should I keep drinking? I never thought, it never occurred to me, should I have a relationship with God or shouldn't I have a relationship with God? I didn't until I met all these people that had a relationship with God. And eventually, actually sort of quickly, I thought, well, I want to do this too. And so that's really been my journey in recovery for almost 26 years now, is finding a relationship with God. Obviously it hasn't been drinking or not drinking because I haven't drank.
So what has happened, let's just say we're going to use maybe the last 6 months. How has your relationship with God changed if you were to look back 26, because again, we're a couple of days before your anniversary. We pray you don't drink between now and Thursday. But what does your relationship look like now compared to what it was back then? Like if you were to take the evolution of how your relationship with God has been since going through back then 26 years ago to today, how has it evolved and where are you with it today? And what does that look like? Do you participate in church? Do you go to church? What does that church look like and everything else?
Well, okay. So like we said, 26 years ago, I had no relationship with God. So what I did, I think is what a lot of people do. I got involved in the 12-step program, and a lot of the 12-step program is finding a power greater than yourself, which a lot of people say, which I choose to call God. Okay. And I'm down with that. So I did that, and I worked through that. I did the suggested things. I did a lot of reading. I learned how to pray. I was not somebody that prayed. Obviously, when you have no relationship with God, you don't need to pray. So I was taught how to pray, and I started praying. And really I feel like that prayer that I started doing was the mustard seed that I needed, just to kind of kick the door open and be willing to have a relationship with God. So I did that for a lot of years. And people would say, do you go to church? And I would say, not unlike somebody who stopped by this house the other night. No, I don't need to do that. I get all my spirituality and everything I need. I get in the rooms of my 12-step program, which ironically were often in churches. But yet I was not a participator in the church. And I was one of those people that, I hate to say it, but I'll admit it, I didn't have an open mind. And I liked to what is the saying is contempt prior to investigation. I had a lot of contempt prior to investigation when it came to church and going to church and people that were involved in the church, and but that was really an ego stroking proposition. And so what happened? A lot of life happened, and and I was working on getting this relationship with God, but I didn't have much of one at all. I have to say, like I had a very hard time seeing God working in my life, even though now, when I look back, obviously He was. So what was the next biggest thing that happened in my life as far as an amazing change and God stepping into it was, at some point I decided, you know what, I need to meet somebody. I'm going to put my profile up on Match.com, but I'm just going to do that. I don't need to be paging through and looking, and if somebody comes in my inbox, that person comes in my inbox, and I'll see what happens. And I didn't know what I was doing at the time, but I threw God a lob, right? Total lob. And he made a 3-pointer with it, because he put my wife now into my inbox, and my wife went to church, and she brought me to church, and I found that I really enjoyed it. So I started going to church whenever that was, about 11 years ago, I guess. And it was on occasion for a while, and then until we got our relationship got solidified, and we got solidified in the church by the priest. We got married by a man that knew both of us very well and that we both loved dearly, and it was awesome. It was awesome, and I loved that church. And then we moved to Florida, and it kind of floundered for a while because it took us a while to find another church, which we have done. But I can tell you that, and it's funny that you say, because you started out with like what's happened in the last 6 months. Well, I don't know exactly what has happened in the last 6 months, but I do know in the last 6 months that my consciousness, I guess what they call God consciousness, my awareness of God operating in my life on a minute-to-minute basis is so much better than it ever was. I see it all the time, and it's great because I just I'm really been leaving it up to God, and I found that every single aspect of my life is really improving, and probably the best aspect of my life is that I'm much more content than I've ever been, so hope that answers the question.
I love that. I love that you're more content. I know that there's a practice that you do each and every morning. Do you want to share that with everybody?
Well, yes, because I'm not a Catholic. I'm an Episcopalian. My wife went to Medjugorje in the late winter, early spring, and one of the things that she brought back for me was a set of rosary beads, and then she taught me how to say the rosary, and so I was like, okay, I'll say the rosary with you, and so we said the rosary together for just a little while, because the truth is, generally, I'm awake and out of the house before my wife is. But I don't know what it is, but I love saying the rosary, and I love what the promises of the rosary are, and I love praying for the things that I can get out of the rosary, and I say it every single morning. I'm like, I've missed more than maybe 2 or 3 mornings in however long it's been, 6-7 months now.
6 months.
And it's great. And I love the fact that no matter what, every single morning, the first 3 things that I get to pray for every single morning for myself are faith, hope, and charity or love, however you want to say it. But, and with those 3 things, and I love it. People say, well, what's your practice like? And when I said, it's great. I get up every morning. I feed my dogs every morning. That's the first thing I do. And then the three of us sit down and we pray and meditate through the rosary, and the dogs love it too. And then once that's done, then I take just a moment to like check the weather, check the email, check work, check this, check that. But I swear this is, for me, it's so important that I do my religious practice first, because what I've really found, and I believe this is true, is that if I start with a little bit of service, and I'm in service to my dogs, but that's a little bit of service, and then I do prayer and meditation, then I'm bringing God to my day for the rest of my day. If I start and I'm like, you know what, I'm too busy to pray this morning, and I get on the computer and I do this and I do that, and then, I'm just bringing myself to the rest of my day. And I can tell you those days aren't that great. They're just not that great. Since I've been bringing God, and it's funny, 6 months, right? You came back. Since I've been bringing God to my day every day, it's been way better.
It's amazing. It's amazing. That trip to Medjugorje literally changed all of us and our family. It's been so amazing. So you attribute all of your years of sobriety to what?
Not drinking. I like to keep it simple. Somebody says, how'd you stay sober for 26 years? I didn't drink. Simple, But really, all kidding aside, it's not me. It's a power greater than myself. And there's more than one power greater than myself. I've learned that. There's God. That's the ultimate power that's greater than me. Ultimate one. But the 12-step program that I'm part of, the group of drunks, no doubt about it. Many times, just my wife is a power greater than me, and I know it, and I appreciate it, and there's so many people and so many things that have helped me to find the right path, and I know that every one of them is on that list of power greater than myself. And I was speaking to a sponsee the other day, and I said, it's really like, it's so simple. The power, you're looking for a power greater than yourself. It's the person that you ask for help. It's the thing that you ask for help. That's it. And they might only be a power greater than you for just to answer that one question. I don't know, but they're all there. And it's 100% not me. I know what happens if I'm left to my own devices. And I know that I didn't think of any of this stuff. None of it. They talk about a life beyond your wildest dreams. And, so when I first heard that, I just thought, well, I just need to dream wilder. But that's not it. It's not how it works. It's everything great that's happened in my life were things that never occurred to me.
It's amazing.
It is.
So I want to ask you, what are 3 tips you would give someone that knows that they have a problem with alcohol and want to stop, but they can't?
Well, if you want to stop and you can't, then my strong suggestion would be put yourself into a position where you can't drink, whatever that is. And it seems like nowadays for a lot of people that is, like a rehab or something like that. Now, one thing I do tell people is that, if you want to stop drinking and you're having a problem with it, like go to a lot of 12-step meetings, because nobody drinks in those meetings. They just don't. So that's a good place to go and not drink. But if they're really if they just can't stop, then they need to get themselves in a situation where they can't start. That's the bottom line. For me, I can't really relate to that because I never thought, oh, I need to stop. I just never, the thought never occurred to me. So I don't know if I could have stopped or not. My guess is probably not, but God took care of it for me.
And then what's another tip? So one is going to rehab. So if you're out there and you're battling this disease, talk to your doctor, go to rehab. Make sure that you go to speak to your doctor, speak to your therapist, speak to a loved one, There's many resources out there, many, even state-run facilities that you can go to that will help you stop drinking. Okay, that's number one. So number two.
Okay, I think number two is instead of asking why, ask why not. So if somebody asks you to do something, if you're working this, this idea of recovery, and somebody asks you to do something, you're like, why would I want to do that? Instead of saying that, say, okay, why not? I'll try it. I'll try anything. Like put whatever your ideas are aside and realize that, like I realized about me, my ideas for me are terrible. They're just no good. So I would definitely say that is just ask why not.
Ask why not. Ask why not stop drinking. Why not?
Why not? Why not pray?
Why not pray?
Why not go to a meeting? Why not do what they tell me to do?
Why not?
Because one thing I do know is when you're in the community of recovery, nobody's going to ask you to do something that's going to be dangerous or hurtful for you. It's just not going to happen.
Okay. And number three?
Number three is find a group, whatever that is. And if you go with the attitude of why not instead of why, the group will find you. And that's the greatest thing in the world. When you have fellow travelers that are like really have your best interests at heart 100%. And I needed that so badly because I had no idea what I was doing. And I had found this, the first group that I had, they told me what I was doing every single day. Okay, you're going to go here and you're going to do this, and you're going to go here and you're going to do this, and we will pick you up to make sure that you get there. And I didn't have to think about it. I just went along with the flow.
I love that. Mm-hmm. I love that. So let's go over them again. The one for the last time. Why not? No, first one is go to rehabilitation center. Number two, why not? And number three, find a group. Find a group.
Yep.
Good orderly direction. Find a group. And that can be in a church basement. Go to your church. Call if you don't belong to a church, you can Google AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. You can go to get the app. There's a meeting app you can get, which you can find a group. And you might not like your first group, but there's probably more groups. And you can also go to Zoom, which is kind of nice. I mean, Zoom wouldn't work for us because I think how you start.
I would, and I'm going to just stop you right there. I would really recommend against Zoom. Okay. And here's why.
This is his opinion.
Okay. This is definitely my opinion. It makes it too easy to remain isolated. And that's what gets people like us in trouble all the time. We are like, leave me alone. I'm not bothering anybody. I'm just going to sit in my house and do my thing. And you don't want to do that anymore. I feel it's so important to get up, get out, and go meet some people and make some friends.
Love that. All right. My last question.
Really? It seems like time is flying.
I know. It is. It's flying by. But I have one last question. What is one thing, if there is one thing, that you have done almost every day for the last 26 years? What has that one thing been?
Besides not drink?
Yes.
Pray.
Every day?
Yes.
On your knees or not on your knees?
Sometimes on my knees, generally not.
Okay. Where do you do it?
Nowadays, I do it. I live in Florida now. If it's damp out, I do it on the couch in my family room. But if it's not damp out, then I go out on a chase lounge, and especially love it this time of the year because it's still dark and the stars are beautiful, and God's creation is wonderful. So I get on my knees from time to time. But, when I started out, and I'll tell you what, so Pete, my first sponsor, he's the one, he asked the question, like, do you pray? And I said, no. And he said, instead of saying, why not? Ironically, he said, do you think it would hurt you? And I said, no. And he said, good, do it. So since you know how to pray, I'm going to teach you how to pray. So when you get up in the morning, pray, God, please keep me sober today. And when you go to bed at night, pray, God, thanks for keeping me sober today. There, I taught you how to pray, so now go do it. And no excuses that you don't have time, because how long did that take?
So that was how I was gonna, I love that. I love that. So I want to say it one last time. So you say when you get up in the morning, God, please keep me sober. And at night you say, God, thank you for keeping me sober.
That's how I started. Now,
it's gotten a little richer as you've gotten older.
Yes, it has. But I had to start. That was the mustard seed, like I said. I had to start somewhere. Pete was really good because he's like, no excuses. That you're so busy, you don't have time, because literally it takes 3 seconds. And that was the start. And I have been very, 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 religious about that for 26 years.
No pun intended.
No pun intended.
It's been awesome. Congratulations on 26 years.
Well, thank you.
Rock star.
I'm very excited.
I'm so glad that I get to be your co-pilot.
Yes, exactly. Well, I think more I'm your co-pilot.
But to have this journey together has been amazing.
Isn't it great?
It is to have, we're both in recovery. It's amazing to have this life together. It just really is. We're so blessed beyond words. And we're blessed to have you guys listen to us, listen to me. He's hardly ever on, but I'm really grateful for everybody that's here. I'm grateful for my husband. I'm grateful to God. Thank you for giving us this one day at a time. And if you're out there and you're struggling, please reach out to someone. You can always reach out to me at Elizabeth, ELIZABETH at elizabethchance.com, or you can go to elizabethlchance@gmail.com and reach me that way. But you have to know this, you are not alone, and reach out. And if you want to congratulate JF, my hubby, aka John, you can also send me a message, and I will relay it to him at elizabethchance.com and elizabethlchance@gmail.com. Either one of those will work.
And I'll just add one thing to that too. If you're a man and you're not sure what to do, or if you need some help, or you need somebody to talk to, same thing. Get in touch with Elizabeth, and she will get me in touch with you. And I'd be more than happy to talk to anybody.
I love that. He's offered his help, you guys. If you're out there, men out there, you can always reach out to me, and I'll share it with my husband. And again, please know that you are not alone ever, and that we are here to help you. And if it's not us, there's somebody else in your neighborhood, in your community, that I know would be willing to help you. Just don't do this alone. Reach out. And just know that I'm so grateful you're here, and I'm glad you enjoyed today's show, which I hope you did. And if you did, again, please subscribe to my channel. And until next time, keep getting busy, living sober. Bye, everybody.